bridge collapsed. The mountain road washed out. All the signs are obscured by fog. Your only directions are detours. Eventually it dawns on you. Sometimes you need to get lost to discover where you're supposed to be. Welcome to Merlin's Barn.
Hello, and welcome to Merlin's Barn, broadcasting to you from Fort Blanket, south of the Yukon, as always. And today, this morning, this evening, some other time that we don't know exists, you have myself, Merlin, and
T.
And today we're giving you I think it's the 7th of the Alaska arrest episodes. This will be the last one. Mm-hmm. And we're going to start off with a little bit of a tribute here because we're just getting back into recording after, I think, a month and a half of not recording. It's been, I don't know, June sucks. I can't say anything good about the month of June at this point, other than it happens. We do get to see my nephews.
We haven't had a nice to us June in 3-4 years now.
Yeah. Starting with 2024, when we lost our friends John LeBron and Roger Roop, who were here at the barn. I mean, at least
all the time.
Yeah,
honestly.
Both of them would be here at least once a week. Twice a week was more normal, possibly more than that. We lost them within 2 weeks of each other, and at some point I don't think I have. At some point, we need to do an episode on just Roger and John stories.
I know we talked about John, and I think it's the last uploaded episode.
Yeah,
the barn, our finder.
Our finder. And then last year it sort of started off fine. It was, we had Reading Air Show, our big World War II air show. You were finishing up school. Your school ran longer than mine, so I went up to see my absolutely amazing nephews at my parents'.
Family shit got weird for me. That was fun.
I don't know what happened last year that got you weird. What happened last year? Oh, that was end of the summer though.
Yeah.
That was yeah. And then I got back, and I think you were on a family trip when we lost all power for 7 days. Yeah, and there's a whole wonderful episode about that rant, about everything that went wrong then. And then this year has started off with... well,
what happened during the power outage? Because this is going to all link back together.
There's a whole episode about it.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah, there's literally, if you look up swan boats and power outages and stuff like that, which seems to be an episode that's doing really, really well. I don't know why. I think people just like to hear me rant.
It's the first of June.
But just going to be really just sort of out there and honest and say we did Reading Air Show and got back from that, and that really wears all of us out. It's wonderful, but it's like 4 days out in the sun. Got to set up a whole encampment that's basically a village, tear it down, and then I go from that to the following, like the Monday morning, I go to Hershey Park, and on the way back from Hershey Park, I get a call from a really good friend from the Alaska arrest trip, Russ Lawton, who is letting me know that our friend Dave Eilers, who had cancer last summer. I can't, it's slipping my mind right now what it was. And then we thought he was out of the woods. It came back. I know there's terms for this, but just bear with me because my brain is only going to partially work through this. So I talked with Russ, and then I talked with, got a call from Jim, another one of the amazing humans who was on the trip, and I talked with Jim. And then I got a note from another good friend, and Jim and I were talking about Dave as well. And then I got a note from another good friend just saying, I need to give you a call. And so I got home, sort of thought about things for a little bit. And then I don't remember if Mike called me or if I called Mike. And Mike, my friend,
called you.
Yeah, my friend Mike Pumphrey, who he and his wonderful wife Nikki live just like 10 minutes down the road, and reenacted with him for absolutely ever. They're up here for game nights. We go down there for dinners and game nights.
One of the biggest helping hands at the Jeep show.
Yeah, just just if you came to the fall Jeep show that I run, the Mason Dixon Boys Jeep show, he would always be there at the end of the table. Just an absolute heart of gold. His smile could light up a room type person. So he calls up and he says, "Hey, how are you doing?" And I sort of dumped a little bit about Dave. And after that, I felt horrible because then he goes, "Oh," he says, "I'm really sorry about Dave." He says, I'm afraid I don't have good news for you either." And he'd been in pain for a while. Long and the short of it was they thought that he might have stage 4 pancreatic cancer. Um, so talked with him. Went and saw him after school on the Wednesday. Then we took a trip up to New England, and I think the stress just took me out. I ended up in the ER twice. My blood pressure was through the roof.
It was scary.
Got back, actually had to come back early because of the health issues, and we were supposed to have a big dinner for that Mike was going to be at. So I saw him on the Wednesday. He was officially diagnosed on the Friday. The following Friday, we had a dinner that he was supposed to be at. By that Friday, he was in hospice. By Saturday, he passed away. And at that point, Dave's wife, Anne, who is just an absolutely amazing human being, Anne, we love you. Anne had bought me a ticket to fly out to Washington State to see Dave because they didn't think he'd have much longer. And luckily, Russ and Jim and several of the rest of the Jeep gang made it out there, and then he took a downturn, and so I didn't get to fly out to see him. So that's we haven't recorded for months, so we're going to be playing catch up for a little bit and doing the best that we can. And I just wanted to start off by just talking a little bit about Dave, because Dave was one of the major reasons why this trip that you're listening to the stories about happened. And I first encountered Dave through his website, ewillies.com, which still exists, and another wonderful person, I think his name's Tim, has taken it on. And Dave, through basically the ups and downs of life, had gotten back into Jeeps and had decided to create this beautiful source where he would just go through all the listings for sale and come up with fun stories and post them. And he was an amazing writer. And he created this fantastic community. And one of the most wonderful things was he started following things that I was doing in my shop, and I had a bunch of my former students working with me. And time we were doing something fun or interesting, Dave would post up what Hanson Mechanical was doing on eWillies. And then in 2011, he told me, he said that he and Ann were coming east. I think it was to pick up some family paintings or something. And we'd been talking a lot at that point. And I knew the day they were showing up, I had Mortimer, my World War II Jeep, out in the yard. And Dave and Ann pull in the driveway, and they get out of the Jeep, and Dave just looks at me, and he walks up across the lawn, and we shake hands, and he looks at me, he says, "It's a little weird." He said, "Does this feel more like seeing an old friend you haven't seen in a long time than meeting for the first time?" And I said, "Yes, absolutely." And we all took Mortimer out for a Jeep ride. And it's just been a nice friendship. Didn't see them that much because they're on the West Coast, and I don't have money to get anywhere. But when 2015 came around and they're starting to talk about the trip, and then 2016 comes, and Bill Reese tells me the Jeep's on the website, and I'm like, oh shit. And then we come around to doing this amazing, life-changing adventure. It was just absolutely wonderful to spend a week with this wonderful group of people and with Dave and Ann. And it's amazing how some people can be such a huge part of your life, even though you don't see them that often. So to give you a little bit more about Dave, I was like, what do I do to tell people about Dave? And then I found this beautiful piece on a website called farmjeep.com, where the fellow who runs the site had gotten Dave to write something about himself. And so Dave's story, in Dave's words, because quite honestly, Dave was a wonderful author as well as running the website and many other things. And I can't say it better from him. So this is quoting directly from Dave from what he wrote to farmjeep.com. It says, Dave's story. I have a wonderlist I cannot explain, but can trace back as far as my great-grandfather Anton Eilers, who traveled all over the U.S. starting in 1859. In fact, I can hardly travel cross-country without wondering what it would be like to go back 150 years, climb on a horse, and travel through a fenceless West. I currently live with my wife Ann in Pasco, Washington, but given I've lived in 24 locations in the past 28 years, I suspect it isn't the last place we'll live. My parents, along with 9 other families, started the Wandering Willie's Jeep Club in 1969 out of the Seattle area, where I was born. I grew up bouncing on my mom's lap as we jeeped over trails such as the Natchez Trail. Mom says I slept well while we bounced over rocks, but as soon as we stopped, I was wide awake. I remember him talking about this. Growing up, it always seemed to me we'd be out doing some Jeep event on the weekend, which seriously interrupted my cartoon watching. That's the way I remember it anyway. Our club planted trees after forest fires, showed off our Jeeps at the mall, participated in parades, attended playdays and conventions. My sister and I hunted for Easter eggs alongside other club members' kids at the Beverly Sand Dunes one Easter. There were monthly club potluck meetings during the summer at Sammamish State Park. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. When I went to college in 1987, I had to give up Jeeps. I thought I'd be back in them after college, but life had other plans. A couple marriages, a couple businesses, many moves later, I found myself needing a Jeep again, so I built one. Then soon after, in 2008, I started eWillies to help others. I guess I must be doing something right, as the site took off in popularity. In 2011, I completed my first book, Finding Virginia, a memoir that highlights 4 tumultuous weeks of my life in 2011. In it, I share how I faced my father's illnesses and revisited a lost love, both of which led me back to my life and how Jeeps impacted it. Also in 2011, my new girlfriend and eventual wife Ann and I completed our first cross-country trip. Not to see Jeeps, but to pick up some family paintings. To our surprise, folks really enjoyed our tales of travel. Since then, we've probably logged 150,000 miles, meeting readers and exploring the U.S. and Canada. Along the way, we visited 48 states, haven't been to Florida or Hawaii together. In 2013, I completed The Amber Panels of Königsberg, a historical fiction thriller. My third book, Slag, The Golden Age of Lead and Silver Ore, was completed in 2016 and describes the history of mining and smelting in the U.S. through the eyes of my family, who were prominent smelting experts for more than 50 years. Besides books and ewillies.com, I have written vintage Jeep-related articles for various websites, magazines, newspapers, and other outlets. In my wildest dreams, I never thought eWillies would lead to so many great experiences and friends worldwide. It's truly been a special experience. These days, my very understanding wife, Ann, and I own 2 vintage Jeeps, a custom fiberglass flat fender named Lost Biscuit, and a 1956 DJ3A named Patterson, and a 2016 Grand Cherokee named Dolores. And they had Patterson and Dolores on the Alaska Rust trip. And
Is there any story behind the names that you know of? I'm curious.
We'll
Those
have
are
to
good
look.
names.
I'll have to ask Ann because I don't remember. I know he wrote about them on eWillies. And folks, if
Lost Biscuit is a topper right there.
Yeah,
That's a great one.
I think it's because the first one might have been Biscuit.
No.
I'm not totally sure. And then he picked up some other Jeeps, and it looked like they had a really pretty ranch out there in
Don't say Jeep Ranch.
Yeah, Jeep Ranch out there in Pasco, Washington. So that's for those of you listening who are really into Jeeps, you probably knew eWillies. If you didn't, the site is still out there. There's beautiful articles. Dave delved deep into Jeep history, found the most obscure stuff and posted it there. I'm so glad it's carrying on. I have something else that I was supposed to put in here. I was literally before we started recording talking to Russ Lawton, I sent Ann a bunch of photographs, and then Russ starts sending me photographs, sends me a smug mug of photos of the Alaska Russ trip, so I think everybody's ears were burning. And Russ wanted me to say something for him. And Russ's comment was that Russ says that he was really happy to meet Dave on the Alaska trip after being a faithful follower of E. Willie's for so long. And then Russ and Jim and a bunch of folks got to go out before, in the week before Dave passed. I'm so sorry I wasn't able to make it out there in time. And Russ says it meant a lot to get to spend some time with him before he passed. He was a great guy. I know they're going to be doing a tribute to him at the Toledo Jeep show. And I'm not sure when that is. I know Bob is working up a banner. And I know they're going to have. I know Bob has Patterson, Dave and Ann's Jeep that was on the Alaska trip. There's a slight chance it might make it to the Mason Dixon show. That'd be wonderful, but no hard feelings if it doesn't. So yeah, there'll be a tribute to Dave there. But yeah, so that's been. This is part of why we hate June. June sucks. Dave, we're gonna miss you every single day. Mike, ditto. So sort of bear with us, because yeah, this is 2024 and 2026. I'm really hoping really hoping this doesn't become an even year thing. I'm sort of terrified of June at this point. I'm hoping I don't develop some sort of anxiety when it comes to the end of the school year from now on or something. Just going, oh, June sucks. This is bad. Let's just not have June. Let's skip June.
Done.
Yeah. Yeah, and Tasha didn't have. I mean, on top of that, Tasha had a wonderful experience with their job.
Do you want me to?
Yeah, just take a sec. See if you can give like the Cliff Notes version.
Cliff Notes version. Working witchcraft shop. Tried to be at work. Had anxiety attack compounded by autism. Basically got fired for wanting to work is how I feel.
Yeah, in a era where like we had a dumpster delivered last week because we do a lot of clear out during the summer, and the trash company had the secretary had volunteered to go out and run on one of the trash trucks because people weren't showing up to work. Tasha was fired for wanting to be at work, for wanting to make sure that there was coverage and everything was taken care of at work. Basically because narcissistic gaslighting bitch is the way I'm going to put it. And there's an episode that we did with that person. I think I'm just going to leave it up at this point. I'm not totally sure.
It's up to you.
Different.
I could not care. We're doing cord cutting at this point.
Yeah, and then one of our cats we took in for oral surgery and couldn't do it because he's
apparently Klaus is in stage 4 kidney failure.
Yeah, so
we're giving him IVs every other day. He's taking it like a champ, a little wiggly, but not much complaining beyond that.
Yeah, and many thanks to our amazing vet, Jonathan Gibson, who's also a good friend.
And a Jeep person.
Yeah, and a Jeep person.
And a VW person.
And a VW person. Yeah, he's part of all the circles.
He really is.
Hi, John. So that's June, and that's about 16 minutes into it, and I'll probably put something in the notes going, if you want to skip all the stuff, but I don't want people to skip us talking about Dave and Mike. Moving on. We're back on the Alaska Highway, or sort of the end of the Alaska Highway, or sort of turning around on the Alaska Highway.
The end or coming back?
It's sort of like the loop around.
A roundabout.
In a way. I mean, it's sort of like, well, I'll describe it because that's what we're here for. That's what people are probably listening for. So I think last time, and I should have listened to it, but I'm pretty sure we covered like the return of the Arctic Circle crew to the Fountainhead Museum, and all the vehicles covered in mud. And we moved on from that, and I think that the rest of the afternoon, people just sort of took that afternoon off after the Arctic Circle crew returned, and we got done at the Fountainhead. Some of us just bopped around Fairbanks being tourists. I love it up there. You could just leave me in Fairbanks or Whitehorse. Whitehorse is my favorite. I could go live in Whitehorse and be happy. Um, so we bopped around, and then we had in the evening, it was like the beginning, it was like it was the beginning of a series of last things. I mean, because it's sort of like, my ex likened this whole thing in the end to, you've just had an amazing month at summer camp. You've made all these wonderful friends who don't go to your school that you never see anywhere else, and mom's coming to pick you up and you don't want to leave because this feeling that you have and these people you have in one place are never going to happen again.
Yeah.
So we went to a big dinner was arranged at the Pump House in Fairbanks, really nice restaurant, and we gave Hugo a signed banner for the trip, and there were speeches, and
Of course.
it was really nice. It was really nicely done. And then after that, we went to a Jeep dealership in Fairbanks, and I have wonderful photos. I'll put a few of them up, including one of Dave. We got a yellow paint marker and had everybody sign Mortimer's hood, which is still hanging up against the wall in the back of our office here in the barn. And so we hung out at the Jeep dealership, talked with people there, met people from local Jeep clubs, exchanged T-shirts, patches, things like that. And then it's sort of like, how long could we milk this type situation? I so clearly remember a group of us going back to the hotel and just closing out the bar. I mean, basically being there until they wouldn't serve us anymore. And then our next sort of last of the last, we had found, we decided that the camping crew would have breakfast together before we left. And Kevin had found this really nice diner and told Jim about it. And if we remember, Jim could get a little grouchy if he didn't have the food. If you remember back a few episodes, I described them as sort of a rolling in a Jeep, grumpy old men.
Yes.
They've been friends forever. And so the whole camping crew, we're walking to this diner. And we're walking to this diner.
There seems to be an emphasis on walking.
And then we keep walking to this diner.
Okay.
Yes, until Jim reaches the point where he says, "There's no diner. Kevin's just walking us until we die and so he can eat us." We did eventually make it to the diner, and it was wonderful. There was all sorts of like local history, 8x10s up on the walls and stuff. I do remember it was an absolutely lovely breakfast. And then, of course, we headed back to the hotel and gathered up our Jeeps and headed out. And that's sort of where we figured that was going to be the last of us seeing each other.
You were disfigured.
So we headed out, and my ex and I drove down to the abandoned lodge the abandoned lodge at the 40 Mile Point on the Alaska Highway, which is just, if I'm remembering right, it was this glorious, huge cabin with a huge repair shop cabin next to it, and honestly, the whole place looked like heaven. And there we turned and went up the Taylor Highway because Chicken, Alaska. Yes.
I don't have a ranking for chicken off the top of my head right now.
On your names, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I can actually give you the original name, too.
What's the original name?
Well, Chicken, Alaska, population sometimes 12.
Sometimes.
Could get up to 50 if there's people camping there. Was originally supposed to be named, I can't pronounce this, Ptarmig.
Let me see that.
A-N? Ptarmigan? Ptarmigan.
I think I tried to pronounce that at one point. This seems familiar.
Yeah, it's a type of grouse or something. So, one of the stories of how chicken got its name was because...
I can't read your handwriting. It's nice handwriting, but for some reason
It's very
I can't
Victorian.
read it.
It's ptarmigan or whatever that bird is.
Bird.
I'm sure there's somebody, what's a bird scientist?
I don't... ornithologist.
Ornithologist. There we go.
Close enough.
Okay, there we go.
I tried.
So, yeah, some ornithologist out there is having a heart attack right now. So one of the stories of how Chicken Alaska got its name was because ptarmigan, or however you say that, they wanted to name it that, but nobody could figure out how to spell it, so they went with chicken.
Okay.
Other option is that possibly it was named by the creek near it called Chicken Creek.
Okay, but chicken or egg scenario
Yeah, well,
at that
chicken
point.
or ptarmigan scenario.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you.
And Chicken Creek was named because the gold pebbles they were pulling out of there looked a lot like chicken feed,
That's
ground up corn. So that's a couple
feet. I thought you said feet.
chicken feet. No, that would be very strange.
That's
Feed, Feed.
see, I had a T on the end of there. And I had a very I was like, those are some interesting gold veins. Okay.
Yep. Nope. Chicken feed. So Chicken, Alaska does have a giant chicken. It's sort of a little off-grid town.
Okay,
There's
that's a 7.
okay for
Seven,
chicken.
yeah.
Okay, chicken for originality or lack of an origin story or
It just feels like a 7.
Okay,
I
well.
can't put my finger on it. It gets points for being a bird-based name.
okay. There we go.
Both names being bird-based. That's a plus in my opinion.
Now, as most towns up there exist, it was because of it was in the 40-mile mining district. And it was developed late 1800s, I think, because of gold mining. They do have a really cool thing up there called a dredge. They have the Pedro Gold Dredge, which was active from, or I think last active, it was active in that area from 1959 to 1967. The gold dredges are these giant, I don't know, they're hard to describe. It's a giant sort of floating factory. And they exist in their own pond. And they dig and they move along and create their pond and move their pond along with them.
Those things.
Yeah,
Freaky.
as they bring up earth and rock and everything like that, and process them to basically sift out the gold. So we've gone from the old the old guy like hand panning stuff
There's
to
gold in them there hills.
there's gold out there. Yeah, it's
Did a voice.
to these things the size of the barn, which is and larger because the barn's like 50 by 80. So imagine something the size of the barn with massive amounts of machinery in it that floats
Recoils. Don't
and
like.
that moves along and also leaves tailings behind it because as it moves along, it spits out all of the processed dirt. So you can see where they've been because there's these high mounds of dirt that where they've traveled through. They're really cool. They're also environmental disasters. I'm absolutely sure, and so that's why I was amazed when the show Gold Rush years ago, the crazy Swedish Viking guy. I probably gave him the wrong Scandinavian nationality, and now he's going to come kill me or something. Had bought a gold dredge and brought it back, moved it, rebuilt it, and put it back to work. And I'm sitting there going, is that legal? That thing is just an environmental disaster in itself. Okay, but it's freaking cool at the same time. So saw that, and then we continued. We were on a time limit because what we were doing was we were trying to get up to. We were on the Taylor Highway, and we were heading for the top of the world highway, which literally is.
What's
Yes.
the elevation on that?
You know what? I didn't look that up. In fact, do you have your phone? Look it up
Yeah.
while I talk. On the top, somewhere between the border crossing, somewhere either at the border crossing or a little bit before it, the Taylor Highway turns into the top of the world highway. And the border crossing is the Poker Creek border crossing. And it is the northernmost official border crossing in North America. And it's only open April through September, and it's only open 9 to 7. So if you get there after 7, you're just sitting there sleeping in your car by the side of the road until 9 the following morning. And basically, the folks running the border will just live out there for a period of time because it's so far from anything. So we went through there, headed along a bit. I know we crossed a river at some point, and we had a can of Alaskan salmon that we'd picked up at Walmart in Maryland before we left. So somewhere I have a photograph of this can of Alaskan salmon sitting in a river because we were sending it back home.
That's a new one for me. I have not heard that tale yet.
Yeah, no, we
Okay.
carried a can when we were buying supplies for the trip. We were at the Walmart just buying mass supplies. I saw a can of Alaskan salmon. I was like, we must take it home.
Return from whence you came. name.
Yes, so
Right. Alaska.org is not mobile friendly, I'm learning.
no,
Yes,
no,
okay.
just look up Poker Creek Border Crossing.
I have Top of the World Highway.
Oh,
I just
did,
Alaska.org looked like it would be a great resource.
oh, okay. It's just not opening.
It's not working for me.
So we rolled along top of the world highway, and basically, like we'd been doing up to this point, we're just looking for the government campgrounds, and we came around a corner. We knew there was one out there somewhere. We found one. We pulled in. It was weird being just on our own and not having the camping crew with us. And we pulled in, and then we were met by this older couple who had like a Winnebago.
Love a Winnebago.
The lady was carrying an axe.
Hell yeah.
And she was proceeded to regale us with tales of the bears and that we're likely to find the bear on top of our Jeep and or you're camping in your Jeep or your tent. Okay, be very careful because you're in a tent and et cetera, et cetera. And then she wandered off to chop up some kindling for us. And my ex and I were left in a situation of wondering if it was the bears we should be worried about or the very or the very animated little old lady who might just axe murder us in our sleep.
I want to be her.
I would happily just go up there and live on the top of the world highway for several months running a campground.
Give me 1 second because I did find a Dawson City resource. But
Okay,
now it's
well,
like
when you find it, raise your hand, and we'll backtrack. Okay, there we go.
Yeah, I know, right? All right. It is at an elevation of about 4,515 feet.
That makes sense. It looks like it's, yeah,
It's-
view-wise, it reminded me of the White Mountains in New Hampshire.
Yeah, it's pretty.
Yeah, I'll put up photos of it. So we headed out from the top. We headed out from our campground and continued down to Dawson City because if you're up that way, you have to go to the center of the Klondike Gold Rush. And our intent was to camp in Dawson City, but we found like one campground in town that was just dust and sadness. So we paid for a campsite, unhitched Mortimer, and spent the day just driving all over Dawson City in Mortimer. We had lunch at the Sourdough Saloon, which is, I know a couple months ago I was ranting about the sourdough cocktail.
I was wondering.
Yep, and that's the home of the
Sounds nice.
sourdough cocktail. I was not daring enough to try that, although I believe because of limited cell service, we missed out on Marty and MacGyver rolled in there when we were there. I believe they did try the sourdough cocktail, but only was it after we left Dawson City that later, late afternoon, early evening, did a text finally come through going, "Hey, where are you guys? We're in Dawson City."
We're
And we're
drinking
just like-
sourdough cocktail.
And we're like, "Oh crap! Our friends are there. That would have made it worth staying overnight in the dusty campsite because we could have hung out with our friends." We did go up to like the largest dredge in North America. I think it's dredge number 4. It operated from 1912 to 1959, and you can see all the tailing piles. It's like 8 miles out of Dawson City. You can see all those tailing piles out there. It was somewhere
How
else.
tall are those piles?
Well,
For
the
context,
dredge number 4 is 8 stories tall.
Okay, can't conceptualize anything that big.
So the barn is probably 4 stories tall, so twice the height of the barn.
Okay, 2 barns. Okay.
Yeah, so 2 barns tall.
2 barns tall.
Much like our friend who does, what's the...
Oh, Doomsday
Yeah,
with
Doomsday,
his
where he
minivans.
where he measures everything in Dodge Caravans.
Yes.
This is 2 barns tall,
Love a good Dodge
probably
Caravan.
2 barns long or longer,
Okay.
probably 4 barns long. So basically,
Yeah.
just figure the tailing piles are about that height because that's how tall the conveyor belt goes out the end.
So the piles are 4 barns tall. Wait,
2 barns tall.
2 barns.
Yeah, they could be maybe just a little bit less than 2 barns tall.
Okay, so they're almost even with the height of the dredge.
I believe so.
Jesus.
Somebody will call up. Somebody will email us and tell us I'm
Please,
wrong.
I'm
But yeah,
confused and fascinated and
I'll
terrified.
have to find pictures. I mean, we may just have to do an episode on the monstrosities that are dredges. I did get a photograph. I'll see if I can post it of Mortimer sitting next to one of the dredges, just so you could get some scale of this 12-foot long vehicle
Yes.
next to this dinosaur of machines, basically. And they look like floating factories. I mean, they have windows in them, they have walls, they have doors. They're just something you'll have to go to the Substack and see the pictures to be able to conceptualize this. I'll put them up on the Instagram as well. So we saw that, decided we didn't want to camp there because we hadn't heard our friends were in town. I'm still sad about that because it would have been so cool to hang out with Marty and Don,
Yeah.
just bop around trying out the different drinking establishments and stuff.
That does sound fun.
Yeah, so we bopped out of Dawson City and headed down the road. And I'll probably have these things out of order, but I'm the only person who knows the order, or somebody who drives regularly from Dawson City can like tell me I did them out of order. But I know we left Dawson City, and I remember being very low on gas and pulling into a gas station like maybe 10 minutes before they were supposed to close because there's a big sign in the window. It was one of the first times I hadn't run into like friendly people. It was weird. The lady in the gas station looks out as we pull in, and then another car pulls in, stares at all of us, pulls the shade, and all of the lights get shut off in the gas station and the pumps go down.
Damn.
And the guy who just pulled in just looks at me and goes, "Did that just happen?" I said, "I think so." He says, "They're open for..." I said, "I know, we're not affecting them." He goes, "I'm
Someone
almost..."
was ready to go home.
Yeah, he goes, "I'm almost out of gas." I said, "We're on fumes." I said, "So we're just going to sort of go on..." So I think it was another occasion where I took the 5-gallon jerry can off of Mortimer, poured it into Junior, put it back on the World War II Jeep, and then we just head down the road and hoped. And we found it. We found another government campground, pulled in there, spent the night, and then headed on the morning. We got lucky, and I believe our gas stop was the Brayburn Lodge, which I am completely heartbroken to inform people is now closed. The Brayburn Lodge was known for, I saw on one website said, cinnamon buns of such a size that you could feed a village with them.
That's beautiful.
The cinnamon buns were so well known that the airstrip near there was named the Cinnamon Bun Airstrip because pilots.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
That is a 10 out of 10. Dare I say 15 out of 10 name. The Cinnamon Bun Airstrip.
So I got
Beautiful.
this cinnamon bun that was probably like almost the size of my head, with the intent of spending several days eating it. And then I think I ate it that day. My God, that must have been like 20,000 calories and diabetes all at once. It could explain where we are today. So I do have a photo of that amazing cinnamon bun as well. That was so I saw it post up. I follow these different Yukon and Alaska pages, and I saw something pop up on the Brayburn Lodge. And I was sitting there, I was going, no. So I was one of the many people responding as we were seeing the post about it closing with like pictures of ourselves with our cinnamon buns and memories of going there. And it was amazing. Like people, folks with dog sled teams talked about coming in the winter on their dog sleds and having a meal in the diner there and having a cinnamon bun and stuff. And
That's lovely.
yeah, it's just
so lovely.
absolutely lovely that I'm just sitting there going.
Center, it sounds like that was a point. Like,
Well,
I don't know how else to say it.
Well, it's like I was talking about with the the rest of the Alaska Highway Lodges was their, they were there as restaurants, as places to stay over, as places to have things fixed, and yeah, as a little
But how
sort
many
of.
people for the rest of those lodges could pull up a picture of their moments there and have like something similar to those who are also there? Like you all had that shared moment at some point across the universe of that cinnamon bun.
There are several of them that are like. Now the thing is, when I say several, there's only like 15 or 20 or something like that.
That makes sense.
What's that?
Did any of what I just said make
No,
sense?
it made sense,
Yeah.
but I'm explaining too that since there's not a lot of them,
Right.
and since they are, as you put it, centers in these areas where there's nothing, there's a whole group of us that like made this one their favorite or that one their favorite. That I mean, like one of them just somebody, an arsonist just hit one of them that was closed recently.
Oh, I forgot about that.
And
Saying that.
it was just the people pouring on the memories of having lunch there, or having met so-and-so there, or their grandfather worked there, or their parents ran it for 5 years and they lived there. These are these little universes in themselves. And when one burns or one shuts down, it's a communal loss, especially in an area where there's nothing else. I do know there's another one that's really known for its cinnamon buns, and it must not close before we run the highway ourselves. And and I really hope that somebody else will pick up the Brayburn torch and run with it, because I would love to hear that the Brayburn Lodge had reopened. But I think it's been the same people running it for like 40 or 50 years.
It sounded like that when you were explaining it to me earlier.
Yeah, so a moment of silence for the cinnamon buns. Okay, thank you. All right, and so we went past there, got our gas, almost died because we're coming around a corner. Yeah, we came over a bridge, and there was a guy just rolling straight at us in a big work truck.
No.
And that was when the windshield on Junior got broken, because I hit the horn and he saw us. Luckily, well, at the last moment, luckily he saw us at all and steered out of the way, but threw up so much gravel I just watched the windshield crack. Which is much better than having a giant work truck, having an F-350 sized truck with a dump bed on it run straight head on into you.
Yeah, I'd take a cracked windshield.
Yeah, I'm against dying.
Yeah.
So we made it from there down to we made it from there down to Whitehorse, and we camped out at the Robert W. Service Campground. And then we saw like messages from different people. So some of the gang was rolling into Whitehorse. So we settled in. I don't remember what we did for dinner, whether we made something or not, but I do remember the squirrels, because I had the squirrel. I was eating some trail mix, and this one little squirrel popped up on the bench next to me, like Koth is trying to do. Koth, you can't do that. You're going to destroy everything. And then this other squirrel popped up and started staring down the first squirrel, and I'd been giving the first squirrel like little bits of peanuts and stuff like that. And so the first squirrel runs off at that point, and the second squirrel is there. And I turn away, and a second later, the second squirrel has his little grubby mitts in my bag of trail mix.
Grubby mitts.
So at that point, somewhere there's a video of me just sitting there eating trail mix, sharing it with this squirrel that's now my new best friend. And I felt so bad for the first squirrel, but he found a way to entertain himself, because I heard a noise a minute later, and there was the campsite next to us at a dome tent. And we heard that sort of whoop, that sort of flipping noise of something sliding on polyester or whatever, vinyl. And what he was doing was he was scrambling really fast up the side of the tent to get to the top. And the first time he did that, I don't think he meant to do it, but then he decided it was fun. He slipped, and then he slid down.
So slide.
And then he stood up and stared at it, and then he climbed back. Then he scrambled back up again, and then while the one squirrel is eating my trail mix, the other one is just repeatedly going up and down and up and down and up and down and up and down this little dome tent, having the time of his life because he's discovered a slide.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. So we had our squirrel entertainment. We had our bear burrito out to sleep in ourselves. We did manage to get a few people together at Tim Hortons. We had to tell several people what Tim Hortons was.
Sad.
Yes, we had to culture them. It's amazing on that whole trip that we didn't.
This week.
Oh yes, oh
we
yes.
can go to Tim Hortons for breakfast tomorrow because I don't work till the afternoon.
Well, I might have Kim tomorrow, but you don't work on Wednesday, do you?
That is correct.
So Wednesday we will drive to Tim Hortons in Eldersburg and get photographs and post them up. So we cultured people on Tim Hortons, and I remember we had Dave and Ann, we had Dawn MacGyver and Marty, and then we had Rob and his wife Diana, because the fellow riding with him flew home, and Diana flew out and was doing the return trip with him.
That's really sweet. I like that.
Yeah, Diana was awesome. It was like everybody we met on this trip.
Yeah.
Was absolutely amazing. And then you get somebody, all of a sudden you hear somebody, there's going to be a switch and people are being changed out. You're just like, oh, what's going to happen? And then we get Diana and we're like, oh,
And
Diana's wonderful. Okay, this is great. So we had our breakfast. We had our breakfast there, and we headed out. And we're like, this was another one of those like, so this is the last time we're going to see everybody. And I don't mean to sound that excited because we're sad every freaking time. And we head down the Alaska Highway. We hit the village of Teslin, which I talked about in a prior episode. That's got a couple motels, and it's got the George Johnston Museum, and there's a museum that's all taxidermied animals, and there's the Lake Teslin there. It's a beautiful area. We go over the bridge.
Is it good taxidermy or?
Yeah, it was really nicely done.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's really nicely done.
I don't know what else to ask about the taxidermy museum. I'm assuming it's just local wildlife, displaying what
Local
local wildlife
wildlife,
is.
basically the level of what we saw in the museum of Chicago, the Field Museum in Chicago.
Okay, the
So
more modern done stuff, I'm assuming.
yeah, nice done,
Yeah.
nicely done with like dioramas around them and stuff like that.
The ones were done nicely. They were just old and a little dusty, and a few seams popped. It
Yeah,
happens.
yeah. So got over the bridge and we kept going, and I think it was an hour after Teslin, the Alaska Highway came to a stop.
What does that mean?
It just traffic stopped. There was no traffic coming the opposite, and this is a highway where you might be riding along in a line of like 3 or 4 cars, or you might go for an hour without seeing a car behind you or passing you the other direction. I mean, that's just the way it is.
Right.
So all of a sudden, we're in this long line of cars that we can't see the end of, and nobody has any idea what's going on. We're flipping through the radio. It's been really dry, and this was one of those years with a hell of a lot of forest fires, like we're experiencing right now.
Yeah.
And what had happened, well, to start off with, we're sitting there for about an hour. Nobody knows what's going on. And a CBC, Canadian Broadcasting vehicle, comes down, and it's driving the wrong way down the other lane. And remember, the Alaska Highway is 2 lanes. It's not 4 lanes. It's not 6 lanes. It doesn't have a Jersey barrier. It's a big 2-lane road.
And isn't it mostly gravel?
No, it's
No.
paved. It's paved. Top of the World was somewhat graveled in
I
areas.
saw that.
Yeah, the Alaska Highway, the gravel we experienced on the Alaska Highway was areas that they were redoing.
Okay, gotcha.
I mean, if you were driving it up through probably the 80s, you were hitting a lot of gravel. But like when we were talking with Hugo, and Hugo's telling us stories, he was talking about the era of mud and gravel, and we're like, pavement, we're not worthy. So the CBC vehicle goes by, and a few of us wave him down, talk with him. He said something about a tanker had overturned,
Boy.
and disappears. And so we're all standing out there, and he shows up about an hour and a half later. And what's happened is a tanker truck had overturned. Initially, the Mounties were letting people drive by. And then they realized that if somebody was dragging, with how dry everything was, if somebody was dragging like trailer chains, the littlest spark could set up the fuel linking from the tanker, and then we could have another massive forest fire. So they just shut the whole highway down. Now, prior to that, I think the last time the highway had been shut down was 20 years before. It doesn't happen because this is where Fairbanks gets its supplies from. This is where so many areas get their supplies from. If the Alaska Highway shuts down, fresh vegetables aren't getting to places. Gas is not getting to places.
Right.
Supplies are not getting to rigs, et cetera, et cetera. So we're sitting there, and there's no idea when it's going to reopen again. In the meanwhile, the ex had reached a point where she desperately needed the bathroom, and went out in the woods while I was trying to figure out what we were doing. And she came back rather quickly. Her comment was, she says, well, something growled at me. And so I'm holding it until we get somewhere else. So,
Oof.
yeah. So I'm looking at maps and going through things, and I'm like, I thought I found if we headed back up past Teslin, there might be a loop that we could go that would take us about 6 hours. And I'm like, well, that'll keep us going. We get up to Teslin, and I go into the gas station to ask about this loop. And the guy in front of me is asking about the same loop I have found. And the fellow at the counter is explaining, yeah, no, that's all dirt and gravel road. That's not 6 hours. That's about 16 hours. There's one gas station on that entire loop that might be open.
Okay.
At which point we're like, I guess we're staying here. And then we look around, we notice Jeeps.
Jeeps?
Yes. We look across the street from the motel campground we were asking questions at. We see Rob and Diana's Jeep, Marty and Don's Jeep, and of all people, Hugo. Hugo and his son had caught up with us. So they're driving, Hugo and Fernando, they've got the black Jeep, like Junior, and they still have the pineapple that he was given in Whitehorse shoved in the spare
Yes.
tire.
Yes.
So we go over there, we check in, everybody's sitting on the little beach there. It's rather nice. We talk with Diana, we realize, okay, we should probably reserve a campsite. So we run back across, reserve a campsite. There's a very frazzled woman, we find out later is the one managing or running the hotel and dealing with the fact that hundreds of people are appearing out of nowhere.
Oh my. That's got to be
Then we go
the
back.
first.
We get our site reserved. Then we go back, and of course you take stock of the alcohol. So we take stock of what alcohol we have. We go back and buy some more stock of alcohol. Come back, and then we're sort of figuring out what we're doing. We were going to offer worst case scenario. We figured the motel was full. We were going to offer worst case scenario, Hugo our tent so that he wasn't sleeping on the ground or something. MacGyver, Don, went over to the hotel and found that frazzled lady and had a conversation with her about all those reservations that she was waiting for, that she had, that were not going to be showing up because they were coming north up the Alaska Highway, and that perhaps she could she could turn one of those rooms into a paying room. So Fernando and Hugo got a room for the night, but they stayed out with us.
That was wise.
Yeah. Don was great. He could fix everything, whether it was a broken vehicle, a beer without a beer koozie, or an older adventurer without a hotel room. And there was a beautiful gazebo there.
Gazebo?
Yeah, my God, I'll show you pictures of it. I don't think we'll get anybody to build us anything like this, but wow, it is like what all gazebos should be. And it had a fire circle, I think, in the center. It was on the lakeshore.
Did our gazebo have a fire circle?
I don't know if we have a $25,000 budget.
But it'll keep the mosquitoes away.
Possibly. I'll show you pictures afterwards.
Please.
So we're all settling in there, and then we just decided, okay, what are we doing for food? So we went through what everybody had for food, and amazingly, there were a couple loaves of bread. We had a lot of freeze-dried stews and stuff, so between different stews, different pastas, people had a couple loaves of bread and a wonderful pineapple that had been a passenger since the last time we were in Whitehorse. That we convinced Hugo to cut up for dessert. We had a hell of a meal, and that's a little First Nations. That's a little, I think, is it Tlingit? I'm not sure. It's a First Nations village there, and the caretaker from the village of this public park.
What area specifically again?
It's Teslin. The town's called Teslin. And it's on Teslin Lake. He came out and. Actually, I wish we hadn't reserved the campsite, because he came out and told us after we'd reserved the campsite that we could just stay there. So we used our campsite just because there was a bathhouse there. But most of the rest of the gang just set up their tents right on the little right in the little park. And hand me the. Well, here's the book. Give me a second to find this, because I think one of the greatest things about this impromptu being trapped at Teslin was just being able to sit there and almost like review the trip. Hugo was, what's that?
It is Tlingit.
Okay. Hugo was
First Nation cultures.
His animated himself telling stories, and I remember Fernando turning to me at one point and just saying, "That's my father." And I said, "Yes." He says, "Well," he says, "you don't understand." He says, "That's the man I grew up with." He says, "I haven't seen him like this for so long." So this trip really woke up something in Hugo again and just brought back the person that Fernando remembered. And then
that's special.
I think Rob.
That's really special.
Yeah, no, it was amazing. I just remember the look on Fernando's face as Hugo's telling a story. And I think I have Rob's summary right here. Give me a second. Rob, in the end of the book, I put Rob summed up our group perfectly when he discussed how people came from all walks of life with a variety of viewpoints, but were drawn together by our like interests and the adventure. This was a week where there were no politics. Nobody needed to establish a place in the pecking order, and there were no toes to step on. We had the perfect balance of people for this adventure. I do remember Rob sitting there and stating that. So thank you, Rob, for the perfect summation of this. In the morning, Hugo and Fernando headed out with the remains with the top of the pineapple now stuck in their spare tire, and they would go on to meet up. Yeah, they'd go on to meet with Dave and Ann and travel all the way to Idaho with them. And the rest of us, the last time we met up with Marty, Dawn, Rob, and Diana was at the Signpost Forest in Watson Lake. And after that, it was the long journey home, which I think was still enjoyable until about maybe Wisconsin. I mean,
It's Wisconsin.
Yeah, it's Wisconsin. There's cheese, but I think the bigger thing was like you loved Montana. We stumbled into Bear Paw National Battlefield at one point, which was just an absolutely sobering event. I think I should share one story from Montana that's not in the book, which was, I may have shared this in some other episode, but there was the town of Wolf Point, Montana, tried to keep us.
Mm-hmm.
We pulled into the I don't remember whether we camped that night or whether we'd found a hotel somewhere. We'd already run into a gas station on a reservation just prior to Wolf Point, where heck of a rundown gas station. You're almost like wondering what you're getting into type situation, and then just absolute nicest people on the planet. And then they were calling other people, and there were pickup trucks driving in where tribal members were grabbing other family members to come and see the World War II Jeep because it reminded them of something else. So it took us forever to get out of this one gas station. And it was just wonderful. It just became like a family event. So we made it to Wolf Point, and in the morning we stopped at McDonald's, and that was where we met the old men. And it used to be in many towns, and I don't know how many McDonald's have. Do they still have seating areas? Yeah, they still have seating at McDonald's. So
It's not like it used to be.
It's Dunkin' Donuts that grabbed all their seats out. They're assholes.
Crumble doesn't have any seating either.
Yeah, well, it's a cookie shop. So
Used to go.
So you've got your gathering. You've got your morning gathering of the old guys and some of their wives. They've probably been gathering at the McDonald's since it was built, and it was an older one. And they're all excited about the Jeep. So we're ordering breakfast sandwiches, and the one guy who's obviously the leader of the pack just says, "Hey," he says, "What year's the Jeep?" So he's asking questions about the World War II Jeep. He's telling us about, he's asking how much they're worth. We're telling them value. We're telling them a little bit of the story of the trip. He's asking about, like, personal questions, too. Finds out we have a Jeep shop. I'm a librarian. And he hands me his card. Then he says to me, he says, "I own a lot of rental houses around here." He says, "There's an old auto shop down the street that is vacant that," he says, "I'm sure you could get a hold of. And you seem like nice folks. We'd like to have you live out here."
That's really sweet.
Yeah.
I'm glad you didn't, because now we're here in our barn.
Yeah.
But also, that's really sweet.
Yeah, it was, when I got home, and the biggest thing was finding out that the middle school and the high school there both needed librarians. Now, if you go and look up Wolf Point, Montana, you'll see that there's really nothing there. But the funniest thing that happened with them was, for anybody who's ever seen Cars for Sale, that they're having a discussion about Jeeps, and the leader of the pack says, "You know, I still have my Willys truck from high school." And one of the other guys goes, "Oh, I remember that. And I've still got my CJ2A that I used to drive." And the leader of the pack says, "Well, here's the thing." He says, "Mine still runs. It ran when I parked it." And they all start laughing. And then he looks at me, he goes, "Here's the thing. It's true because I'm not trying to sell it."
Yeah.
And one of the other guys goes, "Oh." Because you see all those cars for sale that say "ran when parked." You're like, when? When it was last flooded? In 1940? Of course it ran when it parked. Something caused it to sit there, which is why it's not running anymore. And with that, sadly, we're at the end of the Alaska or Rust journey. However, we do have future journeys in store. There is a summer run that Tosh and I plan to do. It may take until we sell until I've got the barn paid off.
Yeah, we'll get there.
So about 5-6 years, so another month long. Although I'd probably like to make it into a month and a half run up the highway and really take the time to see the museum, spend time in places, see a couple ghost towns.
Anything we can swing would make me happy.
Yeah, and then Matt and I are talking about doing the Alaska Highway Winter Rally, possibly in a vintage Volvo shoebox from the 1980s. So you'll probably hear more about that soon, and I'm sure we'll be begging for donations, sponsors. We're not proud. We're happy to paint your logo or put a giant sticker of it anywhere you want on a vintage Volvo.
It'll be really zesty.
Stickers all over.
Stickers. I like the painting idea.
There'll definitively be the prancing moose, of course.
Yes.
There's a fellow with a website who decided to sort of copy or spoof the Ferrari logo, and it's a website all about the vintage Volvos, except instead of a dancing horse, it's a prancing moose on the logo. So we need one of those. But with that, I'm absolutely sure we will come up with more things to babble at you about. This one's been a little bit of a long one, so actually we're not too bad. We're exactly at 1 hour.
Nice.
So nobody should have
Congratulations.
fallen off their treadmills at this point.
Now that Tri's getting very distracting. Look at how cute she is.
Okay, the cat's distracting, and somebody's out there shaking their fist at clouds. So,
A 19-year-old, perhaps.
yes, and oh my 19 years. Yeah. So, with that, we're going to hope you guys have a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening. Keep cool, and thank you so much for listening. You're absolutely amazing humans. This has been Merwin,
T.
and take care all.